I think that when I was getting knowledge, there was always an ambivalence against writing plus lessons. But all the elders I was really learning from, they was writing plus lessons. They was writing down, and it was Dumar who gave me the realization that when I teach and I actually say something that I think is unique and useful, I'm gonna write that as a plus lesson, as a teaching, so I don't forget. And I'll remember all my understandings in that kind of format. That it would be okay to do it like that, you know. And that's really from Dumar. Infinite Al-Jamar did the same thing. You know what I mean?
But those things were typed. Like typewriter type.
Yeah, typewriter
like,
type. Yeah, word processor. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you could do 90 minutes on that, you should be able to do like 2 something on these. Those things were typed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that means that person really took the time, and those were typed.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, but then there was a few plus lessons of that time period that was some garbage.
Right.
That wasn't right. You know, or they had some ham in it. You know, so you got to had to really sit through that stuff.
Right.
So you had to really be on point. So I know why a lot of guards would be against a lot of those plus lessons.
Absolutely, yeah.
Those plus lessons, you know, like they sometimes led people in different directions.
I think it's really Mecca that really started to make more plus lessons and write things down, even if they got it wrong. Like, you know, when they go the greatest story never told, people argue about that.
Oh yeah, that's another
right?
one. Right.
But they were like, we have to write something down. And a lot of it was because of the prisons too. They wanted to give something when people mail things here, to have something to give.
Can I ask
the layers. Go ahead.
What was the greatest story never told? Because
that's a plus lesson about the father's history.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was some things that was in there that wasn't accurate. You know what I'm saying?
It's not accurate.
So
some of it is not as chronologically
Lord Jamal's song, Greatest Story Never Told, is that accurate?
I can't.
Oh, well, Lord Jamal, from what I remember, yeah, that's pretty much this.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
There aren't major flaws in that.
Okay.
He didn't say the earth was flat on that song. I'm a rapper now. I could just throw loose darts.
Yeah,
right?
he threw a dart because I seen your bill about that with the God that talking about that, and I asked him one day. I said, "What was M's issue with the God?" And it was the flat Earth issue.
Okay, so my issue really stems from. This is a person who has had influence, who was given influence by way of his promotion by, the establishment.
Right.
And now he's using he's had this knowledge for 30 plus years. And then when I built him, this is in 2018.
Okay.
I asked him, he tells me that the earth is flat. I said, how long you been studying this? He said 6 days.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, now.
And you trying to put this out to the world like that?
At this time he hadn't started yet. He hadn't started putting out in the world. But I'm thinking this is the great Lord Jamal.
Oh, so you got behind the scenes cut.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is this is like the first time Rod Digger comes along, and Rod Digger's like, nah, I don't know about that, Jamal. Like, blah, blah. He's like, no, this is what it is. And he's like, now he's trying to like beat us in the head with it. No, this is what it is, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, well, how do you reconcile the seasons? How do you reconcile time zones? How do you reconcile? He said, no. You see, you're trying to go into 120, and I'm trying to bring you out of 120. I'm trying to bring you back into 120. You see what I'm saying? So,
Now I see what was your. I see it now.
That's almost like
he countered that going back into 120 is like trying to believe 120, but you're supposed to be you're supposed to be disproving 120. That's a scientific method. You take something and you disprove it. In other words, I see that the original man is God, but every day I'm trying to find more things that could possibly impede that and take the challenge to study that. You know what I'm saying? Study the counters. You know what I mean? Study the things that could find flaw in it. All of those things. That's a scientific method. Everything else is incorrect.
Question everything.
Because that's going to help you
question everything.
Right.
You question everything.
I always say this. One of my favorite philosophers, Jiddu Krishnamurti, said, once you know something to be true and you prove it to be true, and now you accept it to be true, it now has become a belief. In other words, for Krishnamurti, everything had to be living and with the possibility of either growing deeper or being proven wrong. You see? So there's you either learn more so that the black man is God, or you disprove it. Not you just believe it and I'm never going to question this again.
Right. And that's what I'm
This
saying.
is always correct.
When you look at 120 lessons, this is not a holy book.
Right.
Right. So it's not something that just because the questions, all the questions are right and exact, right? But the answers are very near correct, right? So now with your mathematics, you take that and you get it to bring it to right and exact. Because there's some things that Elijah said that he was a little off.
There's almost
He says that all the time. He tells me that all the time.
So there's a few things, but we quote it to say, okay, now show and prove it.
Right.
Right? I mean, do you agree with his answers?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Now, if you do agree with it, then show and prove it. If you don't agree with it, show and prove it.
But a plus, like when you said a plus lesson should have a class behind it. Because now when the student says, I either agree or I don't agree, right, then what happens is now it makes you reshape the lesson to make sure the understanding is there.
To make sure the understanding is there.
Because now what happens is that, so soon as beat me up one day, right, I'm basically doing almost like a plus lesson, right? As soon as like, yeah, you're missing something, God, I'm sorry, right? And then when he's like, yo, it's missing something, right? And I had to go back to the drawing board. So I can't put something out, and then here's where you train with high explosives, right? So if I put a plus lesson out, I have to come here to do the lesson and get the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Now, if I get a thumbs up, but a not quite, I gotta come back. And I have to do it again. You know what I mean? Because what happens is that, because if it's good, now it's like, you almost become the subject matter expert in that now. And then what happens is someone can get that understanding, and then they can build on that.
The classroom is where you experiment with high explosives.
Yeah, because you always say
This is where you experiment. It's okay to make mistakes in the classroom. Why is you have an idea about something? You say, listen, I think the way I see it, it goes like this. And it's like, well, you're off because of this and this and that. You know what I'm saying? That's how you end up directing the nature of your course. You know? This is why I say one of the first things for any student that comes into my classroom is to figure out their very next question by going through a distinct path of seeing that if everything they think they know is true, so that their next question is based on truly what they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And when you come up with this, you become a better maker of questions. You know? It is very rare that you can have a classroom where it's based on the questions that you have, as opposed to just a select, distinct, curriculum that you're being taught just in order to do something. You know what I'm saying? Or to perform something. Those are okay, right? But in this, so you're learning about the knowledge of self. And so the curriculum cannot be the same for every single person. It absolutely cannot. And that's why every single class session is always going to be different. And depending on the person that's dealing with it.
Because you got to demonstrate, right? Sometimes there might be video. You got to appeal to the auditory of the student. So if I could put a bill together, and that's as soon as like you're missing this, and you're gonna lecture, you're gonna lose them, right? So now you take good criticism, you go back to the drawing board, and then you try again, and then when you try again, you refine it more. Then you practice it, and what happens after you practice it? Because everything showing improvement is exactly that, right? I can show improve a lesson now at 43. That's going to be tighter at 45. It should be, because now I'm ironing out the fat, what works, right? And what happens, and that's how you kind of like you build the understanding, because sometimes you don't get a chance to meet. That's like you meet the artist, right, Lord Jamal. You met him like that's like me talking to students. It's like, yeah, the world is flat. What? Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like students. The 120, did you remember? You know what I mean? And it's like, you almost like...
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
Wait a minute.
So
I thought we were the same.
Wow, so now we're saying that...
And that's the examination.
120 is wrong. He's saying it's wrong.
And that's the examination.
And now he's coming to say like, no, and now I'm going to come and teach you what's right.
And that's the examination.
Really?
So now it's like, wait a minute. But you own this forum. You can't. So the understand. I should be able to have my understand. I should just cater it to my audience. So if I'm dealing with someone who has no 120 or maybe just a little bit, I may just dumb down the words a little bit, make it a little bit more plain. When you deal with someone else, you know what I mean? It's
yeah. And he in that note though, he really fell victim on a lot of face value though. You know, when he was saying like, "Oh, the moon is so close, can't you tell? You could just look at it." But with the Earth being round, all he had to do was do a. Why didn't he? But he didn't want to accept the simple horizon test. The horizon test of the way a ship moves and the way it leaves, the distance. That itself though is proof of the Earth is round. You know what I mean?
Well, see, also,
And he don't want to use, but he don't want to use that physical test, eye test. But he wants to use eye test like, oh look, it looks so close to us. It can't be like that.
And all that, see, this is the thing about with a lot of the big head scientists in our nation, right? When I talk about big, like a born mastermind or somebody like a Saladin, right? Like who you know, you unplug from the support system because you think that you know it all.
So you step back from what you
you get back, and then you don't really go amongst the guards and deal with the refinement of it.
Right.
You don't deal with the pressure that's gonna, or the fire that's gonna.
the ego is involved.
And you think, no, I got it. Y'all got it wrong. I got this. I got it all figured out. I got the reason why we're all fucking up. Or the reason why we're dealing with this. I got the answer to this. So y'all are fucking up as opposed to going and actually building with them and looking at those, taking those questions, and then knowing what answer to how to respond and come back with more questions.
Right.
So that we can actually get this right and exact.
But the flip side of understanding is what? Misunderstanding.
So
you really have to I don't know.
If Mecca did this.